And I am so glad to be sitting with you guys again. This is the program where we talk about all things kind of psychological, since that's what I do. But we talk about your life, and you can call me. I get to talk to you live. Call 844-940-2774 to get on the program. 844-940-2774 to get on. If you get there early, you got to get a shot at it. We're going to be a little tight on time today. It'll be a little shorter than we usually are, but I'd like to talk to somebody, so call me. And then we're going to do a thought for the day in a moment. But before then, I want to make an announcement. We have one of our workshops coming up, live workshop on the web. You can log in, but you got to pre-register. This one is called Reconciliation and Estrangement. If you've got a relationship that is estranged, you stop talking, somebody won't talk to the other one, they're so offended or wounded, or you're wounded, and where do you go from there? The subtitle is this: knowing how to mend it and when to not mend it, when to move on. That's a kind of diagnostic tree we have to figure out sometimes. When's it smart to try? I've already tried. Should I try again? If I try again, do I try differently? And when is it not smart to do that? April 16th, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central. Here's how you register. Go to boundaries.me/reconcile. Boundaries.me/reconcile to get signed up for that. Okay, I want to hop into a thought for today. This is a big one. Big one meaning this is something that drives relationships to sometimes the deepest level they've ever been, sometimes stalls them and keeps them from getting past kind of an oops or an offense or something like that. And what is that? It's an apology. And what is a good apology? What are the elements of a good apology? When does an apology work well and when does it not work well? And so let's start with this thought. An apology is one of the best tools possible that we have in life. Why? Well, think about it this way. If you didn't have a digestive tract or an immune system, okay, what do those two things do? Your immune system is able to take care of infection that comes into your body. And what does it do? It goes and it cleans it out and it immunizes you against getting sicker than maybe you would have gotten at certain levels, or even stopping something going bad at all. We need an immune system because bacteria happens. In relationships, bacteria happens. People get their feelings hurt, or there's betrayals or whatever. The second thing you need in life is you need a digestive tract. Why? Because just like we ingest food, what do you do when you eat food? Well, you have to metabolize it and take the good parts of it, but then you've got to eliminate the waste. You don't be carrying the bad stuff around all the time. And especially if you've noticed about the way God designed your body, you're supposed to leave the waste behind you and move on. You don't want to be walking backwards into the waste that you've already experienced. And if we can't apologize and get things in a good place, we're going to be stepping in it for a while. So apologies have everything to do with those two functions, metabolizing the bad stuff in life. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Fine, I'm sorry. How did that feel? There's a way to say I'm sorry that's helpful. Well, that's not one of them, the way I just gave, nor is this one. I'm so sorry. I'm such an idiot. I'm so bad. I should, yeah. Many times when people say I'm sorry, the focus is all about them. I'm so bad. I can't believe, and it's all about the guilt and trying to get out of the guilt. That's not what brings another person towards you. What brings another person towards you in an apology is an orientation to them. See, an apology is about what I did that hurt you. That's important. And so that changes it from the whole arena of how bad I am or how guilty I feel, just looking for forgiveness. So why? So I will feel better. Now, certainly forgiveness does that for us, but that's not why we're there. while we're there is to repair the relationship. And so what somebody's got to feel is true sorrow. And that sorrow, one of my favorite verses says there's a sorrow of the world, which is how we're born. It has to do with guilt and shame and all that. There's a sorrow, it says, that leads to death. Or there's what the Bible says is a godly sorrow that leads to actual repentance, which is change and a better future. So, what do we need to see? Well, in the I'm sorry, we need to feel some not guilt and badness so much as I am so sorry about how I hurt you. I regret that this happened because of the pain it caused you. And they've got to feel in your sorrow that there's actually care for them, that what I'm really sorry about is what it did to you and how you feel and how it affected you. So that's where you begin. Okay. Begin with empathy, sorrow, and regret for the hurt or damage that the incident has caused. And one of the big elements in this is show them that you really understand the pain that has caused them. That requires some empathy. And along with that, not just the pain, here's another couple of things you want to include in there. Be specific about the results, the consequences that you see. Gosh, I know this really hurt you, and I can see it just screwed up your whole schedule. You lost all this time because I didn't get my job done, and I'm sorry that not only it was frustrating, but it really screwed up your life in some way. Now, the bigger the offense, obviously, the bigger parts of life it screws up. You can say, I see it's wounded your ability to trust me. It's wounded your ability to think that love can be good. It's wounded, whatever the consequences are, what it did to them that you truly regret and are sorry for. So now we've got the empathy about the feelings. Empathy has a lot to do with hearing and seeing their feelings. I'm sorry the pain it's caused you. Sorry the frustration it's caused you. I'm sorry that it wounded you. But also, I'm sorry about the consequences that it's caused you. So the care and the empathy is everything that opens up the heart. And forget the right or wrong. And we're not in court here. Okay. We're not trying to testify. And sometimes when people will tell somebody, when you did this, it hurt me. Well, that's because, and they start to, I said to a guy the other day, I said, dude, we're not in court. You don't need to give the evidence that's going to get you off the hook here. There's no judge here. What we're talking about is what happened, in the relationship. And a lot of times we miss because of right or wrong, we miss the next big element. After sorrow, regret, empathy, and all that, the next big element is ownership. Own it. Okay. Let them see that you know what you did and you take responsibility for it. Don't excuse it or minimize it. Talk about your good motives that should make it all go, well, I didn't mean to. The reason that doesn't touch the hurt. Don't blame it on something else. Take responsibility for, you know, I didn't come through for you here and I failed you. And it doesn't matter why and all that. I'm sorry what I did caused you this pain. Sometimes we forget that, we sort of judge ourselves by our intentions. Well, I didn't mean to, but other people judge us according to the behavior or the consequences for them. Now, if you forget right or wrong and you're not trying to justify something, you're just trying to empathize, then you don't have to go into all that. Now, there is a place after what I'm talking about here where you go into where they really understand. You can say, um, I hope also it wasn't my intent to hurt you. I can see how it did, and I'm I understand that now. And sometimes there's other explanations, and sometimes that really does help. But a lot of times people jump right to all the explanations and the blame and the excuses, and that just gets in the way of somebody feeling like we owned it. And you can say, yeah, I did this or I did that, and I can see it hurt you. And who needs the narrative? There's, excuses aren't going to hurt. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry this hurt you. Then here's the next component. So we've got the empathy and the sorrow, the care and the regret. Number one. Number two, we got the clear ownership. I'm sorry I did this, or I'm sorry what I did hurt you. That's a phrase that I should unpack. Sometimes we're not sorry we did something, but it did hurt someone. Okay. I remember one time we had some friends, and I invited a group of friends to do something with us, and it was great. And then the next time we did that, I uh, there were a few other people I wanted to invite to the next thing we did, which was similar to the first one. And somebody in the first group I didn't invite. It's my prerogative on the group I want to put together. And he was enraged, and I can't believe you did this. Why weren't we invited? And it was so much entitlement. I didn't do anything wrong, okay, but it was hurtful to him. And those are the situations sometimes where it's really difficult, because what we got to do is, and I remember I said something like, yeah, and this is the ownership piece. No, I didn't invite you because it was a different group I wanted to put together. I got to spend a great time with you last time. I wanted to see some other people. Yeah, I can own that. I didn't invite you, and I didn't. I am sorry that it was hurtful to you, and I can see that. And it's a tricky line sometimes, because sometimes we get offended that somebody's offended wrongly, and we're getting accused of something. We didn't do anything wrong. So it gets it hard to apologize, but you can empathize. Yeah, no, I did do that. And you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was hurtful. I might do it again. Don't invite everybody to everything every time. But I am sorry it hurts you. I wouldn't want to hurt you. So sometimes it does get into a little tricky line there, because you didn't commit a crime, but somebody's acting like you did. And then the third component, before we hop in a call or two here with the time we've got, let's focus on the future. Once you've gotten through the empathy and the care and the ownership and all of that, what's really, really helpful sometimes is ask them, so how can I make it up to you? How can I make this better? And I'll work on this or this or this in some way so this doesn't happen again. Because I really want to make it right between us. How can I make amends? How can I? And the very fact that you're interested in two things there in point three is, one is, how can I undo the damage? What are the punitive damages here? How can I make that better? I really want to make it better for what I did. Secondly, how can we make sure, what do I need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Now, sometimes they're going to give demands you're not willing to do. If my friend said, well, you got to invite me to everything you ever do, I go, well, that's not going to happen. I promise. So what can we do? Maybe one of the things we can do is kind of talk about our relationship a little bit and understand how that works, or uh, more technical things, if it has to do with maybe somebody's expecting you to do, maybe, let's make sure, next time, that I really clearly want to get the expectations, or I want to do it this way so it doesn't make you late, or whatever it is. But just some orientation to, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Because I certainly don't want to hurt you. So people want to see your heart. They want to see your care. They want to see your empathy. They don't want to hear blame and excuses or minimizing. That sets them up for expecting more hurt and minimalization later. And to do this, we kind of have to prepare. Have we truly seen it from their side? We're so consumed sometimes with feeling bad or how it's screwed up. Have we really seen it from their side? Have we owned it within ourselves? Have we looked at the real consequences, seen how real those are for them? What it would be like to experience that? And what you might want to do before you get into this, script it and read it. Some situations you might even want to role play because it can get heated. So remind yourself not to react and remind yourself of why you are there to begin with. And it's to, as best we can, to repair the breach. Okay, that's an apology. Some good things for us all to think about. I could do well to review that one sometimes. I hate getting accused. I hate getting accused of stuff I didn't even know I was doing something that hurt you. It's hard to sit in there with that sometimes, but we can get better at it. You know who's good at that? God's good at that. He listened to Job for 40 chapters or so, railing on him. And just listen, understood. God's not afraid of our anger. Go ahead and tell him, you know, he wants to hear. Okay. And remind you one more time, our workshop's coming up on estranged relationships and how we reconcile them. So it's called Reconciliation and Estrangement. It's coming up April 16th. Knowing how to mend them. Is it possible to mend it? What do we do? And knowing when not to mend them. Sometimes it's not a good idea. We're going to get into the anatomy of all of that. And here's how you register. Go to boundaries.me/reconcile. Boundaries.me/reconcile. And while you're there, check out the site. You can sign up for a free trial to get to peruse it. We've got 100 and something courses on there, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you're listening on YouTube and you like, what we're talking about, please click subscribe to our channel. Helps us in building a community. And also on the other platforms, if you like the show, share it with your friends. We're trying to always build our community. The interaction there is just a special thing. So there we go. All right. Let's go to the phones. Let me put on my magic headphones here so I can hear you better. And we're going to talk to Alex, who's calling us from California. Alex, are you there? Sounds like Alex's father, who's a
Hello.
narcissist. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
I was about to read your question, but if you can tell me quick,
Yeah,
it
go
sounds like
ahead.
your father
You're
blew up
faster
your
than I am.
family. Your father blew up your family with an affair. Now he's moving to your town and wants to start a relationship. You want to say no to spending any time with him, but feel like that's bad, wrong. How do I get okay with saying no to a toxic person? Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, give me a quick, how long ago was the affair? How old are you? How old were you when it happened?
hmm it started when I was in high school, and I'm 38 now,
Oh,
so 20 years. hmm
so and
He,
your parents divorced?
they did.
How long
He
after it
ended up,
started in high school?
they divorced when I graduated college.
So this started in high
So
school.
four
Your
years.
mother found out while you were in high school. That's when it blew up.
It was about 4 years between finding out and the divorce.
Oh, so it was. Did they try to reconcile in that time?
hmm hmm
They did. Did he lie and keep doing it?
Of course, yeah.
That doesn't help.
No, and he ended up marrying the other woman, and she has recently divorced him for cheating.
Oh,
and
the boy
uh-huh,
didn't change his ways after all that.
and now wants to come be dad 2.0, and I don't want that. And I feel guilty and bad and wrong about saying, nope, you had your chance. Thanks so much. Keep it moving.
So what kind of interaction have you had with him in the ensuing years?
I didn't talk to him for about 7 years.
Was he
Um,
trying during that time?
some I finally had to.
Were you ghosting him?
My
Like you
mom
would?
had to tell him to stop because I would get too overwhelmed with anger. Um,
Oh,
like I would have physically start shaking and crying, and it was
no.
just too much. um, and the last 7 years or so, we've started like texting, but
Oh,
I don't want to hang out with him. I don't want to talk to him on the phone. Like we can go to dinner, but that's kind of the
oh, you can.
extent of. hmm I can
So
I can get through a dinner.
you've done that?
hmm
Okay. Well, it's hard without. I'd love to dig into all of the
I
details so I can
know.
kind of know what's happening and not. But
Yeah.
let me ask you, I'm going to put a few kind of like gates that people have to go
Okay.
through to get where he wants, and
hmm
certainly where you want to end up, and et cetera. Um, let's talk about the past first. Okay.
Okay.
We really can't talk about the future in a relationship where there's been a breach
hmm
until we make sure that we're done with the past. And a lot of
hmm
people, we have to make a distinction. Forgiveness has to do with what's already happened, but trust and having
hmm
a relationship has to do with what's possible for us to have or not. Forgiveness is
hmm
free, and we'll give you three different islands here. Forgiveness is
Okay.
free. I would want you to forgive him for your sake.
Right.
Okay. Have you done that?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Number two, do you feel like you've gotten through the healing of the past?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Because that's really important for your sake.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
to get to the place where this man's actions don't have any power over your soul anymore.
Right.
And that's a
I've come
big
a very, very, very long way.
good for you. So
Yeah.
you've forgiven him, you've worked through all the pain. All right. So now island
hmm
number one is taken care of. Okay. Now
hmm
we're going to get a little boat and go into island number two. Island number two is
Okay.
called reconciliation. Okay. Now,
hmm
reconciliation doesn't mean that we're going to have a future relationship necessarily.
hmm
Reconciliation means where forgiveness only takes one person to reconcile, that would take him coming to the table and saying, I screwed up. I wrecked the family.
hmm
I hurt you. I see that. I'm deeply sorry. We just went through a whole list of what a good apology looks like. And he's
hmm
owning it and saying, will you forgive me? I'm really sorry. And where he's owning it, not excusing it and being a, you know what. So has he done
hmm
that?
No, not really. And
Okay.
I don't think he can.
Well,
And I also don't. Yeah.
we
Sorry.
don't know that. We don't know that yet. And
yeah.
we don't care yet because there's a
Yeah.
whole another list of questions that you would have to know. I'm just
hmm
saying this for you, not for what he's requesting.
Yeah.
I'm saying this for you.
Right. Right.
That I think when we're unreconciled, when reconciliation is possible, that
He has
splits.
apologized, but it's kind of like, you know, apologizing for punching somebody in the face, but you really have no idea that they had to get their spine readjusted and had to start wearing glasses and
Right.
all the other things that went into just a punch, kind of.
Exactly what we were talking about a few minutes ago in the opening segment. I don't know if you heard that, but he hasn't
Mm-mm.
really empathically understood the consequences of what he did to you.
Right.
So if I were going to take a next step, which if it's safe to do, You know, wouldn't want to put
Mhm.
you in anything that's going to hurt you. But
Right.
if he's going to injure you in some way, if he does that, you can leave the room unless it's physical. Then you call the cops.
Sure. No, no.
But the next step would be something like, and because he's reached out, say, Dad, I would like to talk to you. Um, I don't think I don't think I'm in a place where I'm yet ready to talk about having how what our relationship in the future could be or would be or wouldn't be.
Mhm.
I'm not there yet. I think
Mhm.
there's another step to go where we need to really talk about getting to a place where we're clean with this because I'm not yet.
Yeah.
And then I'd sit down and say, you know, I know you said you were sorry. Are you? I'd ask that. Are you sorry for what you did to
Mhm.
us? And he'd say,
Mhm.
what would he say?
I don't think you would know that he did anything.
Okay. Well, then at
But
that
he would
point,
say he's sorry. He would say he's
okay.
sorry
Okay. So
because
what do
that's
you,
what a
Dad?
person does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's role play this. I'm going to be you. So, Dad, what
Mhm.
you said you're sorry, but what are you sorry for?
I'm sorry for having an affair.
Okay. But do you know what the affair did to me?
I think so.
Tell me.
I think I know it hurt you. I know it
Do you
hurt
know,
you.
do you know how?
No.
Well, it's going to be hard for me to go forward or even feel okay with you until I feel like you really understand that and you're sorry for
Mhm.
that. I know you're sorry that you had an affair, but I want to know that you understand what you did, how what you did affected me, and that you're sorry for that. Not just your behavior, but what it did to me. And I would have to feel that you care about that. And I haven't heard that yet.
Mhm.
I mean, I can forgive you, but, and I have, but I don't feel like we can go forward until I feel like you get it and you care.
Mhm.
And if we can get
I
there,
think
then we could go to the next step. But I've never really heard that,
yeah.
Dad. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
So that would be, and that didn't mean you have to go, you know, if that happens, call me back. We'll get to the next step. But But I think that for you to feel like you guys are in a neutral place, you can't go
Mhm.
forward until you're at least neutral. And this
Okay.
relationship's not neutral yet. Let's get it to
Okay.
neutral. And if he can do that, say, well, Dad, that helps. And what I want to do is I kind of want to go to just this. This is new, and thank you for
Mhm.
it. I've needed this. This will help me in my
Mhm.
healing. And I just want to go kind of sit with this and digest it for a while. And I know you want to reconnect, and I'll get back to you from that.
Mhm.
How about that?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
Um, go
I
ahead.
don't want to spend the rest of my life managing his healing.
I
So,
don't either.
we'll
We're not going
yeah,
to
we'll
agree
see
with
how
that.
he does.
That 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 hold on. That's island number three, which is going to require an application process where when you're inviting somebody into your island, you got to know who's showing up, what they're expecting,
Mhm.
what that's going to cost you,
Mhm.
whether it's not even something you want to do. We'll get there, but
Okay.
there's a step first. I wish I had
Okay.
one. I would send it to you, but I wrote a book called Trust this past year, and
Okay.
the subtitle is when to give it, who do you want to give it to,
Mhm.
when to withhold it. That's kind of what we're talking about here a little bit.
Mhm.
How to earn it, but also how to fix it when it gets broken. And I want you to look at that
Mhm.
last section because it goes through some
Okay.
real gates, and there are yellow flags, red flags, and green flags. But there's a few
Yeah.
steps to go. So
Okay.
that's what I would
I appreciate the
suggest.
island metaphor too. Thank you for that.
Well, what a great call. And I'm sorry for the pain you've gone through. And I hope the man can wake up. That would be good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your call.
You got it. Bye bye.
Bye bye. This is the Dr. Cloud Show. Normally I would take several calls today on a tighter schedule. I um, I do want to mention one because one of the calls that's up here on the screen. I'm going to say something quick about it. Um, Melissa, this comes from Georgia, because this kind of relates. Have a question about a prodigal daughter that never apologizes. I can forgive, but what's hard is when she keeps avoiding us over and over. How can I investigate whether reconciliation is possible? And that's kind of, sort of the island path and metaphor. Melissa, I would suggest my book Trust for that process because it'll give you some very clear action steps. But and I'd like for you to call back, next time because I'd like to know when you said she keeps avoiding you over and over. Here's a couple of questions. One is she 100% ghosting you? Okay, where you try and she doesn't even respond, or is it like the previous part says, well, she responds but she never apologizes? If you're getting no response, um, I think it is good to try to do what we can to reconcile with somebody. But sometimes in that situation, there's someone else that can be in the service of the relationship, like one of your other kids, adult kids, if you have one or more. Sometimes that's what ambassadors do between countries that aren't talking. If you can have an ambassador that's not going to go and try to divide, turn her against you or you against them, but somebody that's there in service of the relationship that can say, will you at least talk to her? I've talked to her, and I think she really wants to hear your side of things and wants to hear what's going on, and see if somebody can just get them to the table. A second thing you can do there is you could say, okay, I've texted you, 14,364 times now and I haven't gotten a response. But I thought we'd try again because it looks like you don't want to talk to me. I do care about you and I care about our relationship and I want to understand it better and what's gone wrong and what I can do. And I know you don't want to talk to me, but would you agree to going to talk to someone together? And said, maybe we can pick someone we both would approve of. It could be a good counselor, professional probably would be needed in something like this, or somebody with experience, and appeal to kind of a Camp David. You're in a neutral spot where you have some help that somebody can be um, kind of helping you to pull that back together. And then the third thing, and that's kind of your investigation part of it. But if you do further investigation, you might find that third person that has some leverage and doesn't really, who cares about her, but doesn't even know what's going on. And then finally, what I would say is that you could reach out to her and say, um, no, you're not answering me, but I want you to know the door's open. And here's why. It's open because I love you and I care about you. You're my daughter. I also know that you feel very hurt and angry, and that you apparently don't feel like it's safe to talk to me, or don't feel like it would help, or you're too mad at me, or too hurt. Um, I just want to let you know I would like to talk. Just I just want to listen and understand. If we could just start there, and I won't even talk. I just want to hear anything that is other oriented. I'm not asking you to put yourself in an injurious position there. If you can't handle that because there's too much trauma or it hurts too bad, get a counselor to help you figure out maybe that's too dangerous for you. In some instances, it is. But if you could and just hear it, sometimes that just opens a crack in the door. and somebody is willing to just listen. That's no admission of guilt on your part. It's no admission that you were a bad mother, like she apparently thinks you were. It's none of that. It's just starting a conversation. Okay. Hope that helps you. Sorry we couldn't get to all the callers today. Again, I apologize. That has to do with me and my schedule. And here we are. Shorter time, but hopefully it's been helpful as we talk about, looks like a lot about apologies and reconciling relationships. And we do have a workshop coming up, 2 hours plus on estrangement and reconciliation. The workshop is called Reconciliation and Estrangement, Knowing How to Mend It and When to Move On. Should I mend it? They're not trying. I don't want to try. Should I? Why should I? If you do, how do you do it? We're not even talking. What are the steps? And secondly, maybe you shouldn't. There's good reasons to move on sometimes. We're going to unpack all that on April 16th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central. Here's how you register. Go to boundaries.me/reconcile to get signed up. And again, if you're on YouTube and you like what you're seeing and it's helpful in any way, please click subscribe to our channel. It helps us to let other people know we're here and get the word out. And if you're listening on any of the other platforms like Instagram or Facebook or whatever, pass it on to a friend if you feel like it would be helpful. Okay, guys, always good to be with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.